What's up, guys? We got a big week ahead. This video may run slightly long, but I guarantee you some value. Grab a coffee, grab a whiskey. Let's jump in, guys. I'm feeling frisky. There's a lot to talk about here. Starting as we always like to do with some market breadth, I want to build the two scenarios that I am looking at going into this Fed meeting here on Wednesday. We're pretty vertical into it, okay? So our move up into all-time highs is pretty vertical. We had a slight bit of consolidation there before breaking out on Friday, which was nice, right? But the holiday week was vertical. Then we went sideways last week with a little bit of a breakout. But we're really just tapping our head into all-time highs. What I would like to see, the two scenarios that I would like to see play out. I would love to see an early week sell-off holding one of our levels. I'm going to stop saying one of our levels, and our key level is going to be 663. Any pullback I want to see hold above it, and that would be putting in the inverse head and shoulders that we have been talking about, making this move here buyable, okay? So if I say hold our levels, just know that I mean on the SPY above 663. A pullback holding above that level for me is healthy price action. And because we took out our lower highs here and here, making a higher low somewhere in this range, not invalidating that recent lower low, that would confirm the uptrend, the change of character into an uptrend coming out of the downtrend that we were in. We have invalidated. So at some point we need to pull back that holds and does not make a lower low. I would love to see that above 663. So that is a price action that I'm looking for, and I'd love to see that early in the week and buy that move. I would control my size though, because of course we're going into the Fed meeting, very volatile time. Sometimes you get to sell the news event. We're pretty vertical into it, which heightens the possibility of that sell the news event. Let me get all this mess out of the way. So what I would love to see early in this week is a pullback. Holding, and we could go maybe quarter size a position or two into the meeting. Again, control your risk if you're going to position pre-meeting, all right? But that makes that viable if we do get the pullback, and we would look to then get the reaction, a positive reaction to, look, guys, we're going into quantitative easing. We're going to get an injection of liquidity and rate cuts this week. Very, very likely is what we are going to get out of the Fed on Wednesday. Historically, this is a time that the market does react well, and we're likely to go into a minimum week, but maybe a multi-month move higher off of the liquidity injection and continued rate cut cycle. Okay, the markets and risk assets typically react well to this sort of monetary policy. Okay, so things you should already know. I'm not telling you anything new here. Early week sell-off, I might do small positioning into the meeting. Okay, alternatively, if we push up into the meeting, I've got to wait for a pullback. Okay, the chances of a shake, right? If we rip into the meeting, even if we rip out of it, it heightens the chance for me that they're going to shake out the weak hands in a move like that. But for me, I would love to see that because it gives us another chance to hold structure, to pull back, make a higher low, and then that is the move we can buy. Okay, let me get all this out of the way. Again, if we rip up, we're going to have to sit on our hands. Look, I have exposure. Like I'm over 180% on the year. If we rip up, I'll get over 190 pretty quickly. I'm not forced to enter anything. And even if you are not positioned, if we rip up into this meeting and even following after, I encourage you, especially Bootcamp guys, look, you're learning from me. I've been doing this for over a decade. I promise you a shake will come. I guarantee it. And we're going to review that. I've got a lot of stuff on the charts right now that I need to get out of my way, but I'm getting ready to prove to you how often this happens. If we rip into the meeting, we've got to wait for the pullback that holds structure. It could be prior all-time highs. Even if we dip below, as long as we make a higher low somewhere in that range, that would validate our new uptrend, and this is the move that we can buy. And that would be trading with edge with probabilities in our favor. And it would reset up our entire focus list for daily triple R triggers. Today, I'm going to show you a lot of weeklies, a couple of dailies, and I'm going to show you a narrative trade that I absolutely love. Okay, this just came under my radar through over the weekend research. I am very excited about this narrative trade, guys, so stick around for that. But before we go any deeper, I want to show you why I believe that if we do rip up, it's why I really do hope that we get a sell-off early in the week that holds structure and we can buy. But if we don't get that, if we just start to rip up, we're going to get a shakeout. They're going to shake the hands. But the point is, that is like Wall Street doesn't buy breakouts, okay? They're going to wait for the dip and they're going to step in, and that is the liquidity, that is the buy pressure that is going to make the higher low. The real money, right? When you see them step in and position, you do it with them and now have Wall Street at your back. Stop trying to buy the breakout, thinking we're going to the moon, and just give me a break, okay? If you buy this breakout without a pullback, the likelihood of you being stopped is pretty high. My reason for why, if we just rip into this, I know that we're going to get a shakeout is if you look at the history of prior all-time high breaks. All right, we've got one here. We broke out, went up for a couple days, and got a almost 4% shakeout. Here's another one. We got a breakout to all-time highs, shook everyone out another 3%. Here we've got an example of, the market did run away from us, but we did eventually get one. This was one, it would have been a little bit frustrating to have missed that move, but I do remember I was positioned well into this on this triple R here, but that is literally the alternate scenario that we just covered up here. It was a pullback that we were able to position into the breakout, and that's exactly what happened here. We got a pullback and we were able to triple R entry quarter size into the breakout and allow some of those to run because it took weeks to get our next triple R entry. Another example here, we've got a breakout that went up for a few days, ripped back down for over 2.5%, shakeout before a good multi-week move higher. Another one here, we've got a breakout that pulled back, over 1.5%, and then a multi-week move higher. Another one here, a breakout shook us out for over 2.5% before a multi-month move higher. Okay, do you see this, guys? This is what happens. You get the breakout, and then you get a shakeout, and then you get positioning, and that is the move we can go in with conviction. Okay, risk environment A, full size units, multiple units. You get the breakout, shook out 2.5% move down. That's going to stop you out of your positions, guys. I mean, if you're talking options, that's going to stop you out. But then we got a multi-month move higher. Guys, this goes back into time, into history. This is price action. This is how it works. You got to break out here. Shook everyone out for 10% and went into a multi-year run after. Okay, so I do see if we just rip in, if we don't get the shakeout early in the week, okay, then it's going to happen. Okay, I don't know if it will be in a few days and a few weeks, but we need to wait for the shakeout that holds structure before we go full size into stuff and look for our multi-week, multi-month ideal move. Okay, the follow through environment, that's what we want to be involved in. We don't want to get too heavy into a shakeout. We want to let that happen and then position and be a part of a follow through trending market. That's what we do here. We trade a trending market. We trade the leaders in a trend backed by growing fundamentals, and we wait for them to go on sale. A retracement, reaction at around our level, and a remount of the 9 EMA is a resumption of trend. If you align that with proper timing, market breadth, right? This hits at over 80%. Okay, this is a money printer. What I'm going to show you here today are 15 names that are setting up for weekly and daily triple R triggers. Plus, I'm going to give you that narrative trade that I'm so excited about this thing. Okay, guys, let's get in there. Looking at crypto, we're getting a little bit of a pop out of crypto. I'd like to really see risk on, especially when we get that liquidity injection into the markets. It could be next week, but sometime in the next week or so, I'd really like to see a strong move in crypto, suggesting broad risk appetite throughout markets. Okay, things we talk about all the time. We've got the RSP right here at all-time highs. Okay, it even did peak above. We've got an all-time high close. The markets look great. But look at this vertical move up into all-time highs, coming into a highly volatile news week. Guys, we're going to get a shake. I'd like it, again, to be early in the week. If it doesn't, then we have to wait for it. I don't care if the market runs away from us. We can buy the first triple R that happens after the breakout. That is what we do here, guys, okay? And we've got the IWM looking very attractive right around all-time highs as well. Same thing, guys, pretty vertical into this level. A little bit of a shakeout before the move higher is very attractive. That is trading with edge, probabilities in your favor. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into some of our triple R triggers. Again, we look for a retracement, reaction at or around our level, and a remount of our moving averages. Typically, I do like to have the 9 above, but the markets have been shaky. And this specific example, we do have the 50 above. I require price above the 50. And more specifically, I do like clearing, what was that? Last Tuesday's high. Clearing above that aligns with the remount of the 50. Very attractive for me here in AMD. Let's check it out on the weekly. We've also got a weekly trigger happening for us here on AMD as well. OUST is a weekly trigger that is slightly attractive. This is another semiconductor, and we get a retracement, reaction at or around our level, a remount of the 9 here, about $26 is a triple R trigger on the weekly for me in OUST. And we've got CEG. This is one that I'm invested in this company and do continue to add shares. If you've not seen my series I started on the channel for my favorite AI related investments over the next decade, CEG is certainly one of them. Go watch those videos, man. Fantastic. I featured 6 companies so far, and go watch the videos. Those are fantastic long-term opportunities, in my opinion. I've featured cooling and power so far. We've got data coming, robotics, memory, a bunch more coming out of that series, but some good videos out nonetheless so far. But look, guys, CEG is looking pretty attractive to me here. I would, for shorter term trading, I'd like to see it clear this range. So let it pop up and then give us a triple R trigger above that. We can buy that. So CEG is not quite there for me yet, but I just love the name. I had to feature it. We've got VRT. This one is interesting to me because let's pull this up. Let's go over to the 5 minute and let's move. Yeah, so they got this big sell-off after hours on Friday because they were not included into the S&P 500, which a lot of people thought that they should have been. Myself, I'm one of them. It's coming, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they got a sell-off Friday after hours, and that is the reasoning for that. They were not included in the S&P 500 inclusions. Things like Carvana was the main name everyone's talking about. Man, that thing's gapping up another 10%. What a comeback story on Carvana. Anyways, guys, this one does interest me, and what it is if we get that early week sell-off on top of that, we'll have that gap down due to the after-hour sell-off that happened. If we do get some sell pressure early in the week, I expect the price action on this guy to get back below our moving averages. But if it holds structure, okay, then the next time up through those moving averages is very, very attractive to me. And we've got plenty of time for earnings on this one. I expect a multi-month run out of VRT if the market environment is cohesive with that idea, right? If we have a follow-through market, this is a name that I absolutely love. Honestly, for years. This is a fantastic investment along with a great trader as well. So if you're wondering what triple R is, you get a strong company in a trend backed by growing fundamentals, and you look for a retracement, reaction at around our level, and a remount here. Let's get this trade out of here. I don't actually believe I took this trade now that I'm remembering. But anyways, we are looking for a strong company in a trend backed by growing fundamentals, and you get a retracement, reaction at around our level, and a remount of the 9. This is an entry candle for me on triple R, and you set a 2-to-1. This hits at well over 70%. In a follow-through environment, I'm hitting at over 90% on these things, okay? I haven't pulled my data yet for the year, but I'm going to be over 80% period for the year on triple Rs. But I also like to separate that into follow-through market environment. So this sort of a market, when we're in this sort of a follow-through market environment, like triple R hits at over 90%, period. If you're struggling this year, 2025 has been a very opportunistic year, okay? You need a coach. You need someone who can teach you proper risk management so that you don't get chopped up and lose all the money and work you've done for the year in these 2.5 months of sideways consolidation that we've had. First of all, that's huge, right? And that is learned through market breadth, okay? I've been in the markets for 10 years. I know how to identify scenarios. Identify breadth through sector rotation, reading indices, aligning the SPY with the RSP, many, many different factors, market internals, which you've not looked at. I did forget to look at that quickly for you guys here. Pretty neutral last week, I would say. This is what buy side looks like. This is what sell side looks like. Neutral last week. Okay, so market internals are fine. Nothing overly concerning or exciting here for as far as last week's price action. And while we are here, close without saving. While we are here, let's go ahead and look at our stocks over their 50-day and 200 moving average. We are above the midpoint, and stocks making new highs versus new lows, again, above the midpoint and holding up pretty well. This is all very, very attractive to me as far as market breadth goes. But as I was saying, you must learn to read market breadth. So I can teach you my 6 models that outperform the market. All 6 of them do. But if you don't align them with proper market timing, with market breadth, okay, then you're going to be trading at unopportunistic times, okay? You're not trading with the momentum of the market. So you've got to learn to read market breadth and proper risk management. Those are the 3 things that I teach you one-on-one. I coach you directly for 60 days, one-on-one back and forth, guys. Look, I will give you an edge you can leverage for the rest of your life, but more specifically, in this move, we are very likely to get for the next few months out of the market, guys. We're gonna print money. So if you don't feel confident of a strategy you can leverage going into a follow-through environment, hit me up. All right, so enough of that, guys. We've got Hood as well, looking attractive to us. This is triggering over the 50 on the daily, but also looks very attractive to us as we reclaim the 9 here on the weekly. So you get a retracement, reaction, and a remount of the 9. Another example of this here, you get a retracement, reaction off of the 50 and the remount of the 9. Guys, this is absolutely beautiful price action, and I trade this one all the time. Let's go to Dash to show the difference of daily and weekly triggers. I've not traded Dash since this big nasty breakdown, but it actually is giving us a week. Wow. I've not seen that. Weekly trigger on Dash. I was not looking at it because of this big nasty candle. My goodness. Last time I took a weekly trigger, all right, I traded 6 or 7 dailies after that. Then the single weekly trade that I took added up to be more than all of those. So when you get weekly triggers, right, aligned with proper market timing, it's just fantastic. Usually you have to wait for kind of a shakeout in the market. I wouldn't say that we got a full-on shakeout over the last 2 months, but things got choppy and allowed a lot of our leaders to pull back below their 9 EMA on the weekly, setting up weekly triggers. But guys, holy shit, I did not know Dash was weekly triggering. Right below that prior all-time high, shake and go, weekly trigger. That's attractive. Did not break structure for us here on the weekly. This is attractive. That was not on my list, but that is a weekly trigger for you on volume on that weekly remount of the 9. My, oh my. Anyways, going back to Hood, we've got a weekly trigger trying to confirm here on Hood. If we get that early week pullback, I like this guy back through the 9. And then we've got FUTU, another one that I like, trying to give us a weekly trigger here. And another one that is putting in a cup and handle just below all-time highs. Very, very attractive to me. And looking real quick at China, I do believe that it looks good. It does, yeah. So the China market is looking pretty decent. Back over the 50, I like that. Aligning with a trigger force on FUTU. Guys, I like this a lot. And their revenue growth is absolutely incredible. Look at this. Wow. Wow, wow. Okay, held structure on our pullback. We're just loading up cup and handling just below all-time highs. I like this a lot, guys. This is pretty high up on my radar. All right, and we've got MP. So the entire rare earth, precious metals, all that stuff is catching a bid again. The United States has said they are going to continue buying stakes in these companies. We've got MP here with a fantastic stack of the daily and weekly. So we've got a remount of the 50 on the daily is a trigger for me. That also clears this range, which is why I have that line in there. And then it also aligns with our weekly trigger, guys. So right there, right above 66 is a clean trigger for me here on MP. Palantir. I know that the CEO, Alex Karp, was coked up on, maybe, but good Lord.
Knowing you as much as 10 years ago, or more, when I made you know this.
If that's not somebody coked up, wow, that man was going crazy the other day in his interview. But look, anyways, this didn't break down again. This is a weekly trigger. What this actually is for me is a shake and go with the triple R trigger on the weekly that did not break its structure. So shake and go is a breakout, fake out, shake out, hold structure, remount in the 9. That is a triple R trigger on a shake and go on the weekly for me here on Palantir. I know Michael Burry is short Palantir, but guys, just because you watched a movie doesn't mean you need to be copying what Michael Burry does. Give me a break, okay? A lot of you don't even realize how long he was wrong on that trade. Lost hundreds of millions of dollars being early, multiple years early on that trade. Can you afford to be wrong for years and lose money and get margin called for years before you're right? Like, don't give me a break trying to copy this guy. He is not your quant, okay?
That's my quant.
Your what?
My quantitative.
RKLB is another beautiful weekly trigger for me here. All right, through last week's high is a triple R trigger on the weekly for me. You get a retracement reaction at or around our level. Remount of the 9 is trigger for me here on Rocket Lab. Look, you had Google CEO talking about data centers in space. You had the OpenAI CEO talking about data centers in space last week. I expect this space to continue to catch a bid. I love it through last week's high. We do have to manage our risk, again, guys, with the market environment. All right, if we get a pullback, that makes us very attractive. If we get the early week pullback, all right, I love that with a trigger through last week's high, remount in the 9 EMA. If we start to rip, then guys, we just have to wait for the next triple R trigger on the daily. And we've got Amazon, another beautiful shake and go here for me on Amazon. So we got our breakout, fake out, shake out, pull back into structure, did not break structure. This is a shake and go with triple R trigger. I absolutely love this setup here on Amazon. Through last week's high is very attractive to me. Alternatively, if we get the early week shakeout, that again holds at 50. Next time back up through the 9 is trading with edge, okay? That is going to work more often than not, period. Come at me if you would like to. If you want to fucking try to tell me that triple Rs don't work, please come talk to me. All right, warrensnacks@gmail.com. Hit me up. we can talk about it. All right. All fun, all fun. I will send you a Zoom. We can review this together. I will show you an edge. Okay. That's all I have to say. But I would love for someone to reach out. You have to be willing for me to record the screen share. All right. When we do the Zoom and we go back and forth, and you want to challenge that triple R doesn't work on the leaders over 70% of the time, over 80% of the time in a trending environment, someone try to call me out on that. It's okay. I know. Maybe look for yourself before you reach out. Okay. My bad, guys. I'm having a little bit of fun, man. I'm freaking excited about this week. God, we're almost done here with the triple R's and going to get to that narrative trade that I am pumped on. And ALAB, look, this got shaky last week, but it's on volume. All right. Back through... Let's look at this on the daily. I think back over the 50 is what I liked. Yeah, back over the 50 on the daily would confirm that move. But this was a nasty candle, kind of a shakeout. It tried to get over the 50, shook everyone out, but it held structure. All right, we did not make a new low, and we're holding that prior all-time high level, pretty decently here. Look, I still like this. I really do. Just not the best, a little bit of manipulation, if you will, in last week's price action. So a little bit of a soft open to the week. I'm saying the same shit over and over, guys. And a remount of that 9 could give us a trigger, or you could look at it on the daily and wait for us to confirm. Even if you don't like what happened here, which I'm a part of that crowd, what you could do is let it clear range and then just get the first triple R trigger after we've confirmed follow through price action. Okay, that is putting odds in your favor, trading with edge. Okay. ANET, I love this on the weekly. ANET. God, I feel like Alex Carp. I feel like I just took a bump. kidding. Man, I'm freaking excited, guys. We're going to make some money. All right. We are going to get paid, go back over 200%, triple the account this year, man. What a fucking world we live in. Okay, but I do like ANET here, getting back over the 9. Triple R trigger on the weekly for me here on ANET. And we have NET, another shake and go on the weekly. This one did slightly break structure, right? It made a new lower low on both of these, kind of swing lows on the weekly there. So, I got to keep it real. It did breach both of those. But at the end of the day, you get a breakout, fake out, shake out. Pulled into the 50, back over the 9, guys. I like this a lot. We are getting so liney today, my goodness. Back over the 9 on NET. I do like this a lot. I find this to be a narrative for me as well. Part of the whole AI, the next decade of AI, even like getting into quantum computing and stuff like that. CyberSec is going to only grow in its importance. Okay, it's so funny. I make this joke kind of often. People are like, "Oh my God, the quantum computing is gonna break blockchain and they're going to be able to guess our passcodes, our seed phrases and all this." And it's like, guys, that's what you're worried about. In the meantime, you type in a 4-digit PIN. Like, cybersecurity matters. And yes, all of that is very scary. And it means that companies like this, we need their help. Okay. And I expect a premium to continue to be placed on the space, guys. So CyberSec, something I am watching for the next decade. But anyways, triple R trigger for me here. And we've got plenty of time for earnings to target recent or new highs. I don't see any reason to let it breach that swing low. Maybe even tighten that up a little bit more. Somewhere in that world, though, but we would be looking for new highs on our 2-to-1. UUUU, I like here for a weekly trigger. We get a retracement and we're getting reaction at or around our level. Our level here is this prior resistance zone, or, the prior top end of this range that we were in for a couple of years. We pulled right back into it, back over the 9, guys. This is attractive. So even through last week's high, we got to see the price action for the week. But this triple R trigger on the weekly is attractive for me here on UUUU, which is another part of that whole AI thing. They do uranium, guys, and that is a big part of a future with AI. Last one here is JCI. This is one that I featured in the cooling video of that new AI investing series. And let's go to the daily here. This is pulling right back into this box breakout here, right? Nice, clean, tight price action back over the 9 for me here on this is very, very attractive. You can really tighten that stop up. Yeah, man, this is a great investment for me. But I think this is a good clean entry even to start that investment. Okay, still respect structure, right? If we breach down and break this structure, there's no need to hold it back into this chop, but good entry for me here on JCI. I don't care if you're talking investing or trading back to top of range, right? So if you do shorter term options with a February 6th expiry, right? You're looking for 60 to 200% out of those options. I would say look for all-time highs, honestly, because we got a good reaction to earnings and then the market kind of got sloppy for us, pulling us back, but holding structure. I think if we re-trigger here back over the 9, I think we make new highs before the next earnings, but that's easily 100% on those contracts. All right, so you could look into it, or you could look into this for leaps longer term, even shares, guys, right? If you want to tighten up your risk a little bit, guys, this is a company that is a part of the infrastructure build out and AI. With all of that said, let's look at UNG, my narrative trade idea. I am very excited about this, guys. Very, very, very excited about this. Okay, so for me, narrative trades, I typically like to catch them coming out of a change in character on volume, which is happening here, right? We've had a downtrend, which we've broken out of. We have stopped making lower lows, lower highs. We have begun to make higher highs, higher lows, and we have remounted the 200. Change in character on volume. Okay, nuclear was the big narrative I took many narrative trades in the nuclear sector over the last year. They all worked. Fantastic trading opportunities following the narrative. Okay, how are we going to power all of these data centers? The answer, very speculatively this year, was nuclear. Okay, well, we're fucking 10 years away from that. Many are saying 20. So I expect a shift into a more realistic solution. For the right now solution, natural gas, okay? Even like solar and tapping into power, none of that's happening in the next few years, right? So natural gas, I think, is going to be the narrative shift for how we're going to power these AI data centers for the next year. So look at this reaction here in natural gas. Guys, what I'm looking for here is the first triple R coming out of this reaction, and I'm probably going to go decently sized into that. I mean, a single unit, okay? I never overdo my positioning, but I'm going to get a single unit of this, and I'm going to get leaps. So this is a narrative trade for me. I will probably look to like 2027 leaps into this, and what I am looking for, guys, is a confirmation of the move. Do not feel like you have to, I don't care if this goes like this. I'm still going to wait for the pullback that holds above the 200, okay? That's still what I'm waiting for. And when that happens, it's a triple R trigger that I can buy with confidence that we are in a follow through environment. Okay, we've got the change in character, possibly. This could just roll back over and, you know, that whole narrative will have to be put to rest. I do believe it is coming. But if we get legs on this move, okay, or even go a little bit sideways and let that 9 tighten up, come up over here, all right, we can buy it back through the 9 with some conviction on that narrative to play out over the next year or two. All right, so look, plenty of room for recovery out of, I mean, look at all this volume, guys. Look at all this volume. All right, we are not the first to this idea, and that's okay. I don't want to be. I am not a predictions guy. Okay, I'm a reactions guy. I look for positionings to confirm my ideas, my speculations, my narratives. All right, I don't want to be before Wall Street. I want Wall Street to position, okay, start the change in character, confirm it, and then I ride along with them. They're at my back. Another one that I want to look at here, this is somebody, Bruce brought this to my attention. Appreciate that, out of Bootcamp. ZM does look very attractive coming out of this change in character. We've gone range bound. So you had your change in character here, right? First triple R right there worked really well. So that's literally what I'm talking about. Oh my God, this is what I'm talking about. It just broke out over the frickin' 200, the UNG that we just looked at. Let it pull back and give us a triple R trigger. Okay, this is what we're buying with high conviction for the move higher. Okay, but anyways, after all that happened, we sort of went sideways. So you can put a box into this. You can call this a bit of a box breakout. Okay, sideways consolidation for at least 6 months. So, you know, I really do like this, and I do think this is ready to move higher. Zoom is still a very relevant software, right? People, I pay them whatever it is, 20 bucks a month. And, you know, they seem to still have some growth, right? They have changed character, box breakout, a lot of things here, a lot of things. But what I will say here, Bruce, and I know that we talked about this, but any other ones in Bootcamp looking at this or people watching this channel, let it break out again and confirm, okay? This is the more high probability trade. We don't need to buy the breakout, okay? Because sometimes those shake out. And then there's a shake and go entry. So those are the two things I'm looking. If it breaks out, pulls back into range, holds structure, meaning does not break the 50 or does not make new recent lows, all right? I know it's very liney, guys, but those are the trades right there, okay? So if we break out, even if it pulls back in, okay, we can still buy it as long as it holds structure. It does not break these, let's call the gap up on earnings. As long as it doesn't break below that, pulling back into the box, or we can let it break out and buy the first triple R outside of the box, okay? So that's the idea for me there on ZM. And Bruce, again, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Guys, I know this is a long one. I think we're about to move ourselves into an environment where we can have more conviction in our positioning. Okay, we still have to be patient, but what we look for is triple R triggers on the indices, right? And then we position into the leaders and we let them ride. All right, we hit our 60 to 200% positions on those contracts. We print money. We're gonna print some freaking money if we move into a risk environment A and get a multi-week, multi-month follow-through environment out of the market. I know I've said that enough, but it is what we need before we go putting on too much risk. Guys, the two scenarios one last time is a pullback early in the week, half size here, and then we want it to break out. Then we can start doing full size up here, okay? Or things rip and we've got to wait for that shakeout that I proved to you comes more often than not. It will come, okay? It's just a matter of when. It will come. We wait for that and we want to make sure that holds structure. It makes a higher low, okay? And then back through the 9 on the indices, we load up in our leaders and we print money.